The Early Weigh-In podcast is back this Saturday, UFC 322. One of the best pay-per-views, one of the best cards from top to bottom all year. Two super fights. First up, co-main event, man. Zhang Wei Li stepping up to the flyweight division, taking on one of the best women's fighters of all time, Valentina Shevchenko. And our main event, one of the more anticipated fights of the year, Islam Makhachev making his welterweight debut, taking on Della Maddalena. Super, super good fight, man. Super good card. 14 fights for us to go through. So won't waste much time. Recapping last week as always. 3.3 units for me, man. Pretty good night. Really the only bad read was Miles Johns, and you and I both didn't think that fight was going to end in finish, but lost a unit on Miles Johns, half unit on the money line, plus 164, half unit on Johns by decision. Everything else, though, hit Morales inside the distance was the biggest play of the night for myself. Hit with ease, man. Hit under a minute. And then Chris Padilla money line plus 164. And then my parlay at just at plus money was the under 1.5 in the Zach Reese and Jackson McVeigh fight, which a little sketchier, but ultimately Zach Reese under 1.5 rounds is how I saw that going down, how it went down. And then another easy one with Hokick inside the distance. So 3.3 units. Happy to get back on track, man, and looking to carry it into this pay-per-view. And toss it over to you real quick, man, to get everything started.
Yeah, so pretty much broke even, minus 0.3 units. Had two straight bets. Chris Duncan at plus 140. That was a fun one to watch right there. And then Mara Bueno Silva took a big shot on her. I had 1.5 units at plus 220, and then another half unit on her wins by submission at plus 800. That one didn't have a shot, but I don't know. She looked like her price tag, to be honest with you. I wish that she'd push the pace a little bit more. Thought the line was off, but turns out it was not. Then I had Marcos wins by decision. I really didn't expect him to just run through Johns like that. I knew he would win, but I thought that he would take a little bit more time, and I didn't expect Johns to be able to give up the submission that quickly. So I had one unit on that at plus 110. And then fight ends by sub in the Zach Reese, Jackson McVeigh. Sweaty first round. They didn't want to go to the ground for the longest time, but then it ended up happening by the end of the second.
Right.
So I ended up the night minus 0.3 units. That's all right. I can come back from that. We start off in the lightweight division, where I think I could probably win that money back right off the bat. In Valishlev Borishev taking on Mateusz Camilo. I wasn't really impressed with Camilo his last time out against Gabe Green. I think people severely underestimated Gabe Green. I think I even bet him in that fight as a dog. And he came out there and showed that 155 might be his division. Valishlev Borishev, story's always the same. He can't stop a takedown to save his life, but the dude is tough. He can take a hit, and he's a great striker. Similar in this matchup, I think Camilo could dominate early if he gets a takedown and ultimately find a finish. And then if he doesn't, after watching him kind of quit in the last time out, I think that Borishev, if he can make him work in that first round, by second and third round, I do see Borishev starting to take over. So I like the under 2.5 at minus 160. I think that's the best way to play this fight. I do think that Camilo will have some success early. So I lean him, but I'm not as this line continues to increase to like the minus 180s. I'm not interested in playing him, and much more looking towards that under in this fight.
Yeah, I'm on the Camilo side. Got him minus 148. He's the one who's been in the full camp. It's the question marks around Slava's preparation here. Camilo lost his opponent a couple weeks ago, so I think he's very much prepared going in here. Much younger, much durable, only like 24 years old, training in Vegas. I think he's got clear power to touch the chin and finish Borishev. All the grappling upside in the world here. And for Borishev, I think it would kind of have to be Camilo maybe gassing himself out or something, because I don't think Borishev really pushes the grappling style pace to wear on Camilo. If he were to just strike, I don't know if we see those same cardio concerns. And with Borishev, there's no offensive grappling to his game, like I said, and no defensive grappling as well. Just a ton of fight miles have racked up on the guy through all the kickboxing years. Slows down, doesn't look like he can take a punch. I like Camilo at -148, and I think he hits inside the distance, man. So honestly, I think it's a round one finish for Camilo, and I think you cash on the under there as well. Moving up the card, 185, we got Susakayev taking on Eric Makhachev. Susakayev, I don't know what to say about him, man. I think he has a really high ceiling, but at the same time, I don't know if it was the cockiness or the quick turnaround, but striking defense, it just wasn't there last time out, man. He showed it even by someone like Eric Nolan on short notice. He can be hurt, and as he climbs up the rankings, it is a bit of a worry in this fight. Not so much, man. I think he's so much faster, so much better striker, the much better grappler. We're talking like 11 years younger, I think, at this point. Love the teep kicks and everything he throws. Makhachev, 1-1 in the UFC, probably should be 0-2. Volume isn't great. Doesn't really do a whole lot, honestly. I think he's got a real questionable chin, been TKO'd multiple times, hurt bad by Cody Brundage. And ultimately, I just think that Susakayev pressure and get in his face early, and I kind of think he gets him out of there in the first round. So it's what you expect from a -1,000 favorite. Don't know too much I can really add to it. So Susakayev, early finish.
Yeah, Beisinger, Susakayev. I don't know, dude. I think the UFC would like to see him become a star. He certainly has the style that makes for good TV. So I think that they're trying to get him back on track with another relatively easy opponent. Eric Nolan, the only thing that was working against Susakayev in that fight was that Eric Nolan's an extremely tough fighter. Given that Eric Makhachev has been knocked out 3 different times now, I think Susakayev would be the highest caliber striker that he will be knocked out by. And so, I see the under 1.5 sitting at like -260. And I tend to agree, dude. I just think that this is a spot where they're trying to showcase Susakayev and get him back on the, get people back on the hype train for him. This is just kind of a gimme fight right here. Makhachev definitely lucky to still be in the UFC, lucky to get that last decision. And, I think he's got to accept any fight that the UFC gives him, and I think he's a stepping stone here. So, yeah, Susakayev, round 1, maybe under a half a round. Moving down to the women's strawweight division, Angela Hill taking on Fatima Klein. Both of us were sitting front row for Fatima Klein's last win in Nashville. I like her here, man. I think that she has all the potential to be the best in the world, to be honest with you. She's got a lot of potential, and being that she's only 25 years old, I think that she's only going to improve. Angela Hill being 40 years old, I don't know what the stats are on a 15-year age gap, but I know it's not in Angela Hill's favor. We've seen her rocked multiple times. She's probably approaching she's probably not a winning UFC fighter, actually. She's approaching a 500 record overall, but I would bet that she's less than 500 in the UFC, and she's been cracked multiple times before. Fatima didn't seem to be too concerned with getting the fight to the mat last time out. I think that she could have some success there, but Angela Hill, pretty good at avoiding getting submitted. I do think that she gets cracked eventually, and so I've bet Fatima Klein by TKO at +800 just before the podcast started. I think that line's pretty off. So I know it took her a while to get that done last time out, but I think that she finds the kill shot here against Angela Hill and puts her into retirement.
Unsure about the finish, but I am on the Klein side. Worth noting that, Angela Hill's got one of the best resumes in UFC history, and she's like never been this big of an underdog. And here she sits an underdog to somebody with just a couple of UFC fights. She's been ultra durable throughout the past, man. 28 UFC fights with a record of 13-15 in the UFC. So you are correct, under 500 record there. 41 years old versus a 25-year-old who's getting better every single day, training with one of the best 125ers in the world every single day. I think Klein is one of the more well-rounded girls at 115 and will likely fight for a belt within the next 2 years, if I'm being honest. I think she's got Hill covered everywhere and not really worried about her cardio or anything like that. I just feel like Klein could very easily get on top and make this look easy, stand up. Not as easy, but I still think you got a ton of value. Looking at a minus 500 to finish a fight and getting plus 800, that's pretty nice in itself. So I like it. Wish you the best of luck. Klein's a pick for me. Just unsure if it's a finish or not. Here's a fight that I've really been interested in all week, man. At 145, we got Chepe Mariscal taking on Pat Sabatini. I've bet Pat a couple times, man. I bet him in the Joe Anderson Brito fight, and in my eyes, Brito brings more of a finishing threat than Chepe, not only just on the feet, but you see the fight with Jonathan Pierce where he locks up the nasty ninja choke. Like, Brito's a nasty finisher, and so Chepe is not finished Ricardo Ramos, and so I don't know if Chepe really has the finishing threat that worries me as when you talk about Sabatini's chin. So Sabatini, some of the best grappling in the UFC period, probably one of the best, if not the best, at featherweight. Once he gets you down, super solid at maintaining position. I think he lands takedowns here, man. The biggest issue with Pat Sabatini, everybody talks about, is the chin. And I just go back to him fighting a more dangerous guy in Joe Anderson Brito. And I don't know if Mariscal can finish. And if Mariscal doesn't finish this fight, sure, he's a dog. Sure, he pushes a good pace. He definitely has the striking advantage, the volume advantage. I just feel like if he doesn't finish Pat, then he's probably on his back a large amount of this fight. When Pat wins a fight, he looks like a minus 400 favorite. And so, I don't know. I feel like there could be a lot of value sitting on the Pat Sabatini money line if you favor him this week. And so I do, man. I think if you let Pat build into a fight and don't knock him out early, he's going to find his takedowns and he's going to rack up control time. So give me Pat Sabatini. Not eager to lay the juice, but I think it's a clear side for me.
Yeah. So this being a rematch and Chepe able to edge it out in the beginning, I think that Sabatini knows what he did wrong. He knows kind of what to expect, and I think that he's going to, prioritize control time more. I think that he does win this fight via decision. I think he is able to get to the spots he wants to on the mat. And I don't think that Chepe is enough of a threat to finish him. Obviously, he could get chin checked, and it is what it is. It's MMA, but I think that Sabatini's the better fighter here, and I think that Chepe's been favorable in the matchups that he's been given at this point in his career. This is one that I think he falls short on, and we're getting a pretty decent line. I'm hoping that Chepe continues to get bet down. It does seem like a lot of people are on him, so I'm happy to bet what I consider the better MMA fighter at close to even odds in Pat Sabatini. Sure, we're avoiding the chin, or sure, we're trying to avoid the chin, but I think that's what you got to do. Just make these bets, and it's plus EV long term. So yeah, Sabatini is the play for me as well. Just hoping we can get a better line. Even if we don't, minus 130 is fine. And if the line starts climbing or something, I'll hop on it before it gets out of whack. I think he's good up to minus 175, but even now, I think it's meat on the bone. So yeah, I think that it's going to go differently than the first time out. So moving up to the middleweight division, Gerald Meerschaert versus Kyle Daukaus. Pretty upset that this is an unplayable line for Kyle Daukaus. I was happy whenever he got back into the UFC, and I do think that he's going to be the rightful side here. I think he probably knocks out Meerschaert pretty quickly. The under is certainly a line that I'm looking at because there is potential for Gerald Meerschaert to pull out another submission out of nowhere. But Daukaus is pretty good on the mat himself. His top pressure is really good. And then on the feet, I think he's got a clear advantage. He's a tall, lanky fighter, quick, and has worked his way back to the UFC, and I think he's probably here to stay. So, yeah, I've got Kyle Daukaus here. Upset that he's minus 500, but I do think he's the rightful favorite. Not sure that he covers that price tag, though, so I'd be looking at some type of other way to play him, maybe the under, maybe Daukaus inside the distance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the days of Meerschaert's Hail Marys come from behind. I think they're over, man. He doesn't have the durability, and it's getting worse every single fight for him to even be able to get to those late rounds. Ultimately, maybe pure being able to capitalize on a submission, Meerschaert holds the advantage. But like you said, Daukaus is a really, really good wrestler, really good grappler. I think he can stay safe. and I think he's a better striker. I really struggle to see how Meerschaert wins this one at his stage. Dalka's been brought back to the UFC, look good lately. And I think he's a more durable guy. I think he's a much faster guy, and I think he puts him away early. You talked to him about the under 2.5. That's a play that's definitely going to be on my card. It's sitting at -150, and Dalkas inside the distance is only like -130. So I think you take both sides at -150. Kyle's finished 5 of his last 6 wins, and then on the Meerschaert side, I just looked at it, man. He's already been finished for bust, but he's won 2 decisions in his 50 fight career. And the last decision being in 2013. I don't think he's ever won a decision in the UFC. So you get halfway through round 3 for Meerschaert to pull something out of his ass, but I don't think we get there. I like Dawkins. I like Dawkins' early finish. One of the best fights on the card here, man, at 135. We got Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Cody Haddon. How could you not like what you see from Malcolm Wellmaker? I mean, unreal power, great athlete. Like, not many guys are slumping Chris Moutinho like that. I watched back some of the fights this week, and Moutinho kind of like mercy stoppages against Guido Canetti and Sean O'Malley. Like, no one's ever just slept him and put him face planted him like that, So I'm sold. I think Malcolm Wellmaker's power is there. I think he's a super good counter striker. At just 10 fights, man, I know there's some regional level stuff that I was seeing where he's been 5 rounds where he wrestled. I just don't know at the highest level if I've seen enough to want to lay the chalk on him. I feel like he's knockout or bust here, man. And I feel like Cody Haddon on the other side has answered a lot of those questions for me. I've seen him go a full 15. I've seen him fight a really good wrestler in Dan Argueta. I've seen his submission game, and he doesn't have the same type of lights out power, but I think he's the better pure boxer. Like, Cody Haddon has really, really good hands. Cody Haddon probably has all the takedown upside to me here if there's somebody that I give it to. I just think Cody Haddon is the more well-rounded guy. And so at plus money, that's been tempting for me. That's been tempting for me all week, man. I kind of like Wellmaker's ceiling and the way, the exciting knockouts. And so I'm happy either way. I'm probably going to pass. I'll side with Cody Haddon, man. I just feel like I'm getting a more complete fighter at plus money. So regardless if that's how, I really want the fight to play out, I think that's who I'm going to pick.
Yeah, Haddon seems to be a popular dog this week, and I guess I understand considering we haven't really got to see the full, scope of Malcolm Wellmaker in the UFC. But I think that this is one of the not more favorable matchups, but I think that this is a favorable matchup for him just long term. I think that Haddon, you talked about him being a little bit better boxer, maybe if they were inside of a tire, But I think with a full octagon, Malcolm Wellmaker's athleticism is going to more than make up for it, and Haddon's going to have a tough time closing that distance without getting chin checked. For 15 minutes, until we start getting into where there's potential for somebody to make Wellmaker work over the course of 5 rounds, I do think that he's going to be able to one-shot his way to victory, whether or not he gets the knockout or not. I think he's going to be landing the more significant strikes here, and I think he's athletic enough to avoid most of the takedown attempts and get himself back up to the feet where he can just land a couple of shots and win a round. But that being said, he's proven that it just takes one shot, and until that stops happening, I do believe in him. I think the UFC probably knows what they're doing flying over this Australian, and I think that Malcolm Wellmaker is the rightful side here. I'd like for Haddon to continue to get bet down and me get Wellmaker at Pat Sabatini odds. If I can get -130 on Wellmaker, I'll bet him, but I might regardless. If I can just get him -150 or better by fight time, I could see me laying a little bit of juice on it and just going with him. But it does seem like Haddon is a popular dog, so I'd be happy to fade him closer on into the week if I can get a better line. Let's see, moving up to down to the women's flyweight division, Erin Blanchfield taking on Tracy Cortez. Man, I told you I'm about to. I don't know if I'll do it, but I want to unload the whole entire bank on Erin Blanchfield. I'm a big supporter of her. Uh, got a 1 of 1 10 Gym Mint 10 rookie card of hers, and it's my pride and joy as far as my card collection goes. I do think that she is the future champion. I just got to sit on that and cash out whenever she does become it. Tracy Cortez is an Instagram model. She's great, but this is a similar stylistic matchup, and I've seen the dog inside of Erin Blanchfield to pull it out in the later rounds. I think that she is rightfully the clear favorite here, and I think she probably dominates. So yeah, give me Erin Blanchfield here. I think she covers her price tag. I think she wins, I don't know, 80% of the time. She's a dog, and I like betting her.
Yeah.
So yeah, give me Erin Blanchfield.
Yeah, not only do you have a previous fight to watch between the two, which I kind of think Aaron won when I watched that back, but you also have a super recent fight where they both fought Rose within like the last year and a half that you get to watch and see how they both performed against the same fighter there. You know, one walks away with a win, one does not there. I think this is time for Aaron to get this one back. Honestly, I think the striking is pretty even. I just feel like one of these fighters is going to be on their front foot, and that's Erin Blanchfield. I feel like as far as danger factor, that's all Erin Blanchfield. If she gets on top here, she's way more dangerous. And since her first fight, I feel like she's the one who's made clear improvements. You know, on the side of Tracy Cortez, she's extremely one-dimensional, man. She is wrestling or bust. And even when she gets you on top, like in your guard from top control, she does nothing, honestly, dude, you know, and I honestly, I don't think she has the best gas tank. Again, I think Erin Blanchfield's going to be the one coming forward. You look at a girl also who's just super inconsistent lately, activity-wise. She's fought once a year for the last 5 years. She's had weight issues, missed weight, cut her hair. Like, I think the pace and the grappling that Erin Blanchfield brings into this fight at this stage in her career is far past what Cortez is at. And then if you pay any attention to Fight Ready and everything as well, her coach is retiring. This is the last time they're going to be together. And so sure, maybe it's extra motivation, but also a super emotional fight for her coach, everything as well, man. And, you know, maybe her coach's mind's not even really all the way there with, I've seen him talk about other things that he's doing after this. So maybe his mind's elsewhere and not even on these last couple fights. I don't know. So I just a couple red flags that I do like to mention that Cortez is dealing with mentally going into the fight. So women's chalk, always a little scary, but if you feel good about Erin, I feel really good about Erin as well, man. Moving on to 185, man, Roman Kopylov taking on Gregory Rodriguez. Man, this is up here again with one of my favorite fights on the card. I think we get a finish here early on in this fight. I do think Kopylov is going to look a lot faster than G-Rod. You know, he doesn't wind up on anything. He has really sharp jab. He throws nasty kicks, and kicks stifle a lot of the boxing that Gregory's going to have. And so early on, again, I think the underdog is likely going to look like the favorite. But G-Rod's, it's nowhere near the pressure of Fluffy, and G-Rod will not be able to shoot 10-plus takedowns in round one and still have a gas tank left in round two. But he does have really good forward pressure. So while I think the kicks could stifle the boxing of Gregory, if Gregory's on the front foot and puts Kopylov on against the cage on his back foot, that stops a lot of the kicks and everything as well. So I think both guys could look a clear favorite here. You got Rodriguez with a massive grappling upside, and Kopylov's first level takedown defense pretty solid. It's just when you get this guy grounded, there's nothing off his back. He tends to slow. He tends to wilt, and so I think Gregory could find his way on top if he's still there in rounds 2 and round 3. I've really struggled, again, because I think the underdog is going to look like the favorite early on in this fight. I think Gregory's going to have to walk through some fire, and he's got a real dodgy chin. You got any thoughts on this one? I've struggled.
I think G-Rod's the clear side here. I mean, again, it's like we're betting the better MMA fighter and just avoiding the chin. But I think he pushes enough pace that he's not going to let Kopylov sit in and really start to find that range and the timing that he kind of needs to be able to win a fight. And then you throw on top of it that he has the grappling upside. He's just an all-around better MMA fighter here with a little bit more experience. And I think you got to go him here.
I do agree.
If he sits on the back foot early, yeah, Kopilov could get into this, but I got to imagine he's coming in with a pretty good game plan. So, yeah, I mean, Rodriguez is the spot for me. I kind of wish I would have gotten on him at like minus 160. He's getting up there, and knowing that he has a questionable chin is tough to lay that kind of juice on. But yeah, I mean, he's the side in my opinion. Got anything to add?
I like it. I think I agree with you. I tend to lean the Gregory side too, man.
Moving on to the prelim headliner. First time Bo Nickal not fighting on the main card. We are in the middleweight division. Bo Nickal taking on Rodolfo Vieira. I think there's probably a good chance that this is a striking match. Both guys, primary grapplers, but I think they'll probably just negate each other. I think Rodolfo has probably more polished striking as he has really rounded out his game since initially coming into the UFC. I think he probably has a better jab. But that being said, he's going to be slower here. And I think that Bo Nickal is going to lean on his athleticism on the feet and be able to just unleash some bigger shots that I think will ultimately win him the fight here. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a snoozer than what people are expecting, though. Let's see what we're looking at. Bo Nickal is minus 205, and fight the over 2.5 rounds is sitting at minus 145 on DraftKings. That's how I'm looking at this fight, over 2.5. I like that. We can get like minus 120-ish for fight goes the distance. I don't want to be sweating that final 2.5 minutes if minus 145 is hanging around, but that's how I see this fight going. It's hitting the over, being a striking match, and Bo Nickal just edging it out here.
Yeah, I tend to agree, man. And I was kind of shocked to see that the bookies agree for it to go over as well. But on the Bo Nickal side, the type of mentality that I think he's grown up with, like around the wrestling scene and just the hard work and things. I think a career loss ultimately was good. I think a bit humbling was good. You got a guy saying he was going to be a favorite to Khamzat Chimaev. And so, again, seeing a guy who's had that work ethic his entire life, I think something like that is good for him. I think it's good to get humbled, to let him know he's not the best, that this is a new game he's in. And I ultimately think it's going to make him work harder. And then a lot of people talk about maybe he quit, dude. That knee to Ritter has is nasty. It's nasty. And he ate it like 4 or 5 times before it finished him. And we've seen body shots just drop people. There's nothing you can do about it. And so I'm not one for saying that he quit. And ultimately what I'm getting to is I think a loss is good for a guy like Bo Nickal. I do agree with you that I think a lot of the grappling is going to negate itself. I do feel like if anybody finds a takedown, though, it's definitely the Bo Nickal. Vieira's got world-class jiu-jitsu, but I really struggle to see a lot of people take down Bo Nickal. Honestly, I know De Ritter ended up on top when Nickal pulled a guillotine early, but I struggle to see a lot of people truly take down Nickal in the UFC. And I think if Vieira tries to grapple, he's going to have to work hard. It's going to slow him down. I already think he's, again, like you said, the much slower of the two. I think the Nickal jab, the Nickal high kick, probably a real slow-paced fight. Just keeps him at bay, and Nickal by decision is how I see this one going down as well. So I hated to see the bookies rate a Bo Nickal fight to go over when it's typically, minus something under 1.5. But I agree, man. I think this one goes over, and I like Bo Nickal to win the decision. Kicking off the main card, we got Beneil Dariush taking on Benoit Saint Denis. MMA math here. You got Beneil Dariush coming off a win over Moicano, who went to Paris and ran through BSD. It's BSD 2-1, 225 favorite here. And you also talk about the Gamrot performance. Obviously, going to get brought up a bunch of times this week when breaking down this fight. My issue is that I don't think it's the same Beneil anymore, honestly. He used to be a guy who could scramble with the best in the world. I don't think he's near as athletic anymore. He can still land offensive takedowns and stay in your guard, but I don't think it's the same Beneil who was scrambling with Gamrot. I think he's lost his durability. I think he's lost his cardio a bit. And in a firefight, I just don't trust him. I don't trust the chin, and a firefight's what BSD is in every single time. Whirled down on him a little bit after losing the 2 in a row, but he's got his momentum back, man. I feel like, again, just a way more dangerous guy. I feel like he's going to get in Benny's face from the time the bell starts. He's got a nasty body kick. He slips it up high. I don't know, man. Over the course of 15 minutes, I think BSD is going to land a shot that puts Dairouche away or just wear on him, and ultimately find his way to the back and submit him. So I like BSD here, man. I don't really get the Dairouche love this week. I think BSD finishes him.
Yeah, I personally haven't seen that much Dairouche love, but I mean, the line it does seem like it's coming down just a smidge. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. BSD, I think he brings the pressure. I honestly don't think he's like, it probably wouldn't be the best idea to bring the fight to the mat, but even if it does, I don't think that he's at a complete disadvantage there, especially this, this Beneil Dariush at this point in his career. And then on the feet, I think he's got a clear advantage here. So he's got more paths to victory. I don't see a scenario where he's completely, fish out of water. And I think he probably covers his price tag here. I think he probably wins by decision, but, there is potential for him to finish the fight, as Dariush's durability has looked a little bit like it's, depleting. So, yeah, BSD is the side for me as well. Long as no signs of staph infection, I think he's the rightful favorite. Moving up the card to the 170-pound division, we have Leon Edwards versus Carlo Prates, one that I know that we're going to be disagreeing on a little bit. I am on the Leon Edwards side, man. I think that this line is out of whack. I think that if this fight stays on the feet, we got an extremely close fight. This is the first fight in a while that Leon Edwards doesn't have to worry about a takedown attempt. And on top of that, I think he's got a clear wrestling advantage here. I think that he's a better wrestler than Ian Gary. Ian Gary shot for 19 takedowns on Carlos Prates and absolutely cleared him in the first 3 rounds. It was only until the later part of that fight that Carlos Prates really showed any type of potential to win the fight. And before that, it was all Ian Gary. So for 15 minutes, I think that Leon Edwards, depending on which one shows up, my biggest problem with betting Leon Edwards is that you never really know where he is mentally coming into a fight. But these are 2 fighters who both kind of build their way into a fight. And I think that Leon Edwards has more upside for paths to victory. And then on top of that, I think if he hadn't had these 2 losses to pure wrestlers in his last 2 fights, this line would be much closer. I think back to Prates versus Jeff Neal. That was a close fight before the knockout happened. And I think that Leon Edwards is a better striker than Jeff Neal. Yeah, dude. I mean, there's some weapons that Prates goes to that could get Leon Edwards off of his game. But in a pure striking match, I think that this is really close. And I don't really like the mentality of Carlos Prates. Smoking packs of cigarettes a day. There's a lot of things that make me not want to bet him as a favorite. And I think that Leon Edwards, we're just getting a solid line, considering he's still at a high caliber. He just had to have worried about the takedowns in his last 2 fights. So this is one where I think he can really showcase his striking skills. Give me Leon Edwards, my plus 160 or better.
Huge stylistic difference from the last 2. I give you that. Leon just looks mentally checked out to me, man. I don't know. He's always been a guy who I think confidence is easily broken in a fight. But he just looks, I don't know, man. He looks checked out now. He's 34 years old. He's been the champion, and now his brother's career is the one taken off. I don't know, man. I don't think he poses much of a threat to deter Prates from walking forward. He's pretty low volume. Again, easily bullied in some fights. I'm really not sold on his gas tank at all. And on the Prates side, man, again, I think you have as versatile and dangerous of a striker as maybe anybody we've seen since Anderson Silva. And I truly mean that. Like, this guy's got so many ways to knock you out. And I don't think Edwards has the footwork of Ian Gary. I don't think he has the wrestling of Ian Gary. You know, you and I have a bit of different thoughts on Ian Gary. I've bet the guy like every single fight. I think Ian Gary's elite, and I don't really think Edwards at 34 is anymore. I don't think Edwards has the chin to take the shots from Protez. I don't really think that Leon has the offensive wrestling the way you do. So maybe it's close early. Like you said, both of them tend to kind of build into a fight. But I think once Protez gets his reads on how Edwards is going to approach this fight, I think his willingness to walk forward and land, being the bigger guy, the longer guy, is ultimately gonna you know, Edwards has never been finished and was submitted the first time in his career last time, and I think he's getting knocked out here on Saturday. So bit first true, I think real disagreement, but I got Protez TKO.
We talked about this earlier. You know that the same thing would happen if Bilal or Sean Brady was matched up with Carlos Protez. Like, Sean Brady goes in there, takes down Protez, and submits him in under a round for sure if they get matched up, I think. It's just tough. I mean, it's a terrible matchup, you know? I think these guys are similar fighters. It's going to be a close fight. That's what I think. It's going to be a close fight.
And I think it very well could be until Protez lands the TKO. You know? But I like Protez.
I want to see you bet it. Bet it.
Hey, the line's coming my way. You might just see it. Moving on up, man, featured fight of the night. Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales. Again, up there with one of my favorite fights on the card, man. This pay-per-view stacked from top to bottom. You got a pretty clear grappler versus striker matchup, a fight that you and I talked about before the podcast. Probably finishes, man. I think Brady probably deserved a title fight, so props for him. You know, in the interviews, saying a lot of guys want to wait for their title shot. He don't mind fighting for one. I love the mentality. You know, his last couple fights with Leon and Burns tend to make me think that cardio really isn't an issue. And, you know, maybe it was the first time fighting out of the country, all the way in Abu Dhabi, the heat, the time change and stuff when he gets finished by Bilal. So, you know, again, maybe the cardio is not as big of a concern as we always thought. He is nasty, man. Like, he trained with Pat Sabatini, the same gym. These guys have legit black belts, and Brady's got really good wrestling to go with it as well. I expect him to shoot early. The guy knows where his bread's buttered. The fight truly comes down to if Michael Morales can stuff these takedowns, man, and get back to his feet. Because if he can, he is athletic as they come. His frame for the division, massive, only 26 years old. You know, he ran through Magny and Burns in round one, and that's what I expect him to do. And so, you know, I've really never seen this guy fight much adversity. I've never really seen him have to fight off a really good wrestler, but I have seen him on his back a couple times to guys that I think Sean Brady is better than. So my gut feeling ultimately is I want to trust it. And I think Brady goes out there and grapple fucks him, man. And honestly, I think he could just show him that there's levels to this game, and I think he could break him and submit him. Brady's submission is plus 400, but you can get fight ends by sub at plus 380. And I also think Brady is, you know, could get sloppy with something that Morales is just athletic enough, man, freak athlete enough that he can lock something up as well on something sloppy. So fight ends by sub plus 380. Maybe just fight doesn't go the distance at plus money. I'm on the Brady side, but also like a finish here, man.
Yeah, so, you know, as we talk about it, I think that it's either Brady round one sub or Michael Morales by decision, or actually just fight goes to decision. If Brady doesn't get it in round one, I think he's tough enough that Michael Morales and him duke it out on the feet. We get a close fight. But I think that the round one goes to Brady like 9 out of 10 times, dude. So I do think he wins round one. I do think for the first 5 minutes that he's going to be so much stronger and so much more better at grappling that he gets the fight to the mat and potentially submits Michael. But if not, those takedowns are going to become much harder. And I think that Michael's just so athletic that he could make him work and then make this fight close. And we do see it go to the judges' scorecards. But Brady round 1 sub, whatever that price is, I think I'm more inclined to bet that than fight ends by sub, just because I think that's his best shot to get it done. And then outside of that, I think that we're looking at a close fight. So yeah, I lean Brady. I think that most often that he's going to find an early sub or at least bank a couple of rounds before it hits the judges' scorecards. But I am worried if he doesn't get it in the first round that he's tough enough to withstand 15 minutes with Michael Morales. And then, yeah, I don't know, Brady round 1 or pass for me. So yeah, Brady round 1. Let's see. Moving on to the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko trying to defend her belt against the former strawweight champion, moving up a weight class in Weili Zhang. Another one where I think we're going to disagree. I am on Weili Zhang here. I think that she could have stayed at 115 pounds and won as much as she wanted to, man. After the performance that she put on against Tatiana Suarez, I think that it's pretty clear that she's just the best 115 pounder on this planet. I've seen, Weili after fighting Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana is a big 115er, somebody who is dominating up at 125 pounds. And if Weili can ward off the grappling attempts of Tatiana Suarez, I think that she can do it against somebody in Valentina Shevchenko, who historically has relied on her striking to get the job done against most of her competition. Weili, I know that she's going to be at a slight size disadvantage, but just what I've seen on embeddeds, she looks like she's going to match up size-wise relatively well. She fills out well for the division. I think that she has similar grappling to Shevchenko, and then just a little bit more athletic advantage. I know they're similar in age, but Weili just in my head has a lot more juice left in the tank, and I like her at dog odds. Val, obviously, this is her weight class at 125 pounds, but they're an inch apart. I don't think that she's going to have this huge size advantage that people are expecting. And I'm not sure that she's going to be able to, 1, outstrike her, or 2, rely on her wrestling. I think this fight's close, which is why it's lined this way. But I just tend to lean Weili with her momentum at this point in her career. So, yeah, Weili's the pick for me.
Yeah, another disagreement here, man. I feel like I've really ultimately had a good read on Val and Valentina fights. I was just looking back at my thing, and we bet Alexa Grasso. We bet Alexa Grasso by sub that night. The following fight, I bet the over 3.5 in that fight, which cashes. The next time I bet Valentina straight against Alexa Grasso. And then in her last fight, bet Valentina decision plus 200 against Manon Ferro. Yeah, I feel like I got a really good read on Shevchenko and how her fights play out. And I think this one is extremely similar to the Ferro fight, except I don't think Zhang is as physical as Ferro, as big as Ferro, or even as technical in the striking as Ferro. And so I think Shevchenko, ultimately, man, outside of Manon Ferro, I don't think there's anybody that beats Shevchenko in the striking fight, at all. I don't think there's a girl that can win a striking battle and outpoint Shevchenko. I think she's too sharp. I think she's too fast. And even Zhang moving up, she is a meathead, while she's going to wind up and throw big shots, Val's quicker, dude. Val's going to hit her with kicks. Is going to hit her with a jab. I still think Val is going to look like the faster fighter here. I also think Valentina's wrestling, she's just so technical, man. I think she is honestly, Amanda Nunes is always considered the women's GOAT, but Valentina can honestly claim that she deserves one of those Nunes fights. I think Shevchenko is one of the best, if not the best fighter that's ever lived in a woman. And while Zhang is maybe the best 115er, I think she's bitten off more than she can chew here. I don't see how she wins a striking battle here. And ultimately, yeah, Tatiana Suarez performance was good, but Tatiana Suarez is post many injuries, post things I don't even want to discuss, and I don't think was anywhere close to the same Tatiana Suarez that people were excited about as she was coming through the rankings. So I think Zhang deserves this fight. If she wins it, she's up there with GOAT status as well. But I like Valentina here, man, and I think I'm going to go Valentina decision one more time. I don't think she gets the finish. I think it goes over, and it gets me plus money. So I feel pretty comfortable on the Shevchenko side and Shevchenko decision. Have another head-to-head with you there, man. In the main event, one of the more anticipated fights. This one's killer, man. I got to give my props to JDM here, taking on Islam Makhachev. JDM been put in some tough spots, man, like even dating back to the Contender Series, but props to him. Dude's a fighter. He fights to the last bell, 8-0 in the UFC, volume on another level, pressure. I mean, just some of the best boxing that I've seen in a long time at the UFC level, man. When he gets you backed up, everything is in combination. It's 4, 5, 6 punches. It's great body work. And even in the grappling, he's shown some pretty good scrambles and the ability to get back to the feet. I don't know if he's fought somebody like Islam, honestly, who has that type of grappling, that type of physicality. And at the same time, Jack's pretty defensively ill himself. I feel like Islam's is gonna land on him too. But when I look back at Jack's career and was watching fights, on Dana White's Contender Series, Angelusa gets him in the arm triangle, real deep, man. And then in one of his second UFC fights against Ramazan Emeev, deep in another front choke he's got to fight out of. You bring up the Hafez fight where he's making bad mistakes, pulling guillotine, ending up on bottom. And then in the Burns fight, 7 takedowns. I mean, more than a full round of control to a really aging Gilbert Burns. That's just not what I like to see when you're going into fighting Islam, who is probably pound for pound number one of the more elite fighters you're going to see, world-class grappler, man. The biggest question on his side is you got to lay chalk, and you don't know how he fights at 170. I do expect probably the cardio and durability to be a bit better because he's not having to make this cut to 155. But how's he going to perform with all the extra weight that he's carrying around at the same time? How's that going to perform over 5 rounds against a guy who is going to make him work every single second that he's in there? So I still think there's questions unanswered. Doesn't make me want to lay the chalk. Jack's a dog, super high-level fight. It's really hard to fade a guy in Jack who's 8-0 in the UFC and looking to career best, and he's trained for Gilbert Burns. He's trained for Bilal Muhammad. Like, he's been in back-to-back-to-back grappling camps, so there's improvements being made. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pick Islam. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. I just have a weird-ass feeling that if this gets into 3, 4, and 5, when Islam's grabbing the clinch, the way Dustin was wearing to the body, I don't know, man. I think shit could get hairy if it gets late. I hope Makhachev doesn't let it get there. I'll take Islam Makhachev. JDM pulling it out. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think so, man. I mean, I think if Islam doesn't finish it quickly, it looks terrible for him afterwards, Yeah, I mean, Jack, he's in camp with Craig Jones. He's getting some of the best looks possible. And after his performance against Bilal Muhammad, I think that he's figured out the takedown defense. He's going to make Islam work. And when you look at Islam's record, yeah, he's got the most title defenses at 155 pounds, but he's yet to defend the title against somebody who wasn't a former featherweight. Like, this is somebody in Jack Della Maddalena that's, not even like a super tall welterweight, but he's somebody who can match Islam in physicality at both sitting around 5'10". I think Islam's in for a fucking terrible night, dude. Honestly, like, if he can't finish this fight early, I know he has that Dagestani steroid freak strength. So it's possible that he gets him down early and gets it done. But pretty much every other outcome, I think that Maddalena really wears him out and makes this look, bad, dude. Like, really bad. This is obviously a calculated risk by Islam's team. I don't think he wants to fight Arman Tsarukyan. I don't think he wants to fight Ilia Topuria. And I think that he sees that a primary striker is up at 170 pounds, and it can kind of erase that one loss on his record if he could win the championship in 2 weight classes. So they're going for it. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, I've been kind of a Jack Della like hater isn't the word, but non-believer would be the word. But after his last performance and then just seeing how he's training for this fight, I think it's all coming together at the right moment. And I think that barring an early finish, which the line is set at like 3.5, bro, I mean, this is all Jack Della. I mean, I think the body work's going to get to Islam. Jack Della hadn't ever been like rocked on the feet. Sure, he takes some good shots and everything, but it's just so that he can wear on you on the feet as well. So, like, I think he just absolutely melts him down the stretch. And I've seen Quid and Islam, but it just like every single one of the guys that he fights just aren't big enough to stop the forward pressure of Islam. And finally, he's running into somebody who will. I think he gets fucked up in round 3, 4, 5. I don't think this fight goes to the scorecards. And I think that Jack Della retains his belt. Calculated risk by the Dagestanis here, but I think it's going to bite him in the ass. So give me Jack Della plus 210. I like this spot. I'm pretty pumped for this weekend.
I need Islam big for the fantasy league, but I got a weird feeling about it, man, as well. I kind of feel like old Giacomo is going to get him down the stretch too, man. I hate it. But high level fight, big dog. Might find myself on Jack. That way I'm happy either way. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. That's 322, 14 fights going down to MSG on Saturday. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll be back next week for Arman Sarukian versus Dan Hooker. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. We'll see y'all then.
Peace.